What is up, everybody? Skratch coming up with another Raid Shadow Legends video. We are currently on the test server, guys, so that means that we're gonna be able to have a look at the new QOL changes that are coming into the game and the new champions, including the Fusion champion and, of course, Yumeko. Everybody's been curious about the Foxy champion, so definitely some game-changing champions coming into the game, guys. Now, I'm not 100% sure when exactly the patch will get released. Plarium, they're not sure 100% either, so they don't want to commit to a date. But roughly, it should be coming in around 2 to 3 days if everything goes right. If not, it might come only at the beginning of the next week. So if we're gonna have a look at the Tavern, guys, this is the thing that's been requested the most. Is a lot of time-consuming sort of situation when we are talking about the old Tavern. So what exactly happened here, guys? Let me just show you and be ready, because I can guarantee you that this actually feels good, okay? So this is one thing, okay? If we're gonna go right here, you can actually select show upgradable champions only. And that means that whenever you're gonna click on a different category right here, it's gonna show you different champions that are upgradable for this specific group, to say like this. So at upgrade level, you see it shows everything that we have and we can upgrade the level on. But look at the Bruce now, man. Wow, you know, you can actually do this. We can actually do that. Wow. Wow, you know what I mean? And we can do this. And we can do that. So, just bang, look at that. Instant bang to level 43. Like, this is something that, oh my god, was needed for such a long time. And I'm super excited that we finally have it. So basically, show upgradable only. And we're going to be able to go from here on like this. And I repeat, this is the test server. That's why I have a million books in here, okay? So don't ask me in the comments, Skratch, how do you have 2,000 books of each one of them? Test server. That's how. But that's definitely a great thing, you know. I like it so far. I still feel like they are able to improve this even more, so hopefully in the near future they'll be doing something to improve it even more than it is at the moment. The next thing that actually got released into the game, if we're gonna go at Tag Team Arena, Battle, I need to set a defense. Okay, let's go to Classic Arena, Battle, and we go to Team Setup. Okay, we actually have 15 setups now, so that's a huge improvement. We had 10 before, and now is split it into more categories, so we're gonna be able to use more teams. If we go for faction wars, we're gonna have specific to faction wars, and that's actually awesome as well, just to be able to have different setup right here, you know. So it's basically faction wars, campaign, and clan boss, if I'm not mistaken. They all come in together, so that's pretty sweet. I don't think the dungeons are in the same group with this. I think the dungeons, they were on a different level. Definitely some sweet stuff. Now, we haven't heard anything about setting the AI for the second round on waves and stuff like that. I'm not sure what's happening with that part. Hopefully we will be getting that at some point as well, but so far we haven't heard anything about that particular topic. Now, talking about the champions, guys, okay? Champions. So let's go back to the Fusion champion. Let's start with him. I'm gonna tease you guys right now a bit. So if we go all the way to Spirit, Karato Fox Hunter, he looks awesome, right? These are his base stats. Pretty good base HP, pretty good base attack, almost 1.6k. That's definitely solid. Decent speed. I'm not so excited about his speed personally, and his defense seems a bit low in my opinion. But other than that, he's awesome, right? Like, check out how he looks. We already covered the kit. We're not gonna go over the kit again, guys. I'm quickly just gonna click on it for whoever needs to pause the video and check it out, because they weren't sure. But we need 4, 8, 12 books in this bad boy, okay? So that's Karato. This is our current fusion, guys. I'm personally gonna go for it. I'm actually excited, and the main reason why I'm excited is because this couple right here, are gonna flip the entire game, okay? So we have Yumeko, look at her. She just looks amazing, okay? Awesome, awesome design on this champion. But what is it about her, okay? So base stats are good, decent speed. While on the A1 attacks one enemy 2 times, each hit steals 7.5% of the target's star meter if the champion has 50% HP or more. Blah, blah, blah. Each hit heals this champion by 30 of the damage inflicted if this champion has less than 50% HP. Yeah, it's okay. Nothing that special. Nothing that special here. Attacks one enemy. Fully booked, 100% chance to place a hex for 3 turns. And the passive effect on this skill, guys. Whenever an enemy tries to place debuffs on either this champion or an ally, has a 55% chance of transferring those debuffs to a random enemy under a hex debuff placed by this champion. This happens before any debuffs are placed on the initial target. Has a 30% chance instead against bosses. Whenever someone fills the turn meter of an enemy under a hex debuff placed by this champion's turn meter will be filled instead. Only available when Karato Fox Hunter is on the same team. So basically, if you pair them together and you land hex with her on an enemy champion and an arbiter boosts the turn meter of that champion, she's gonna get her turn meter boosted instead of the enemy champion. Very, very nice skill. But I don't think you guys are ready for what you're about to see, honestly. I feel like you're not ready. So imagine Warlord and Kaimar, they adopted a baby and Yumeko came out of her, okay? Decreases the cooldowns of all ally skills by 3 turns and increases the cooldowns of all enemy skills by 3 turns on a 4-turn cooldown. This is just insane. Actually, 5-turn cooldown, my bad. I actually got that wrong. So it's on a 5-turn cooldown, not on a 4-turn cooldown. Will not decrease the cooldowns of this champion's other skills. Man, this is so amazing. So, you know Warlord, yeah? Warlord is great for defense, is great for offense. But when you're using Warlord for offense, okay, he's depleting turn meter. He has a chance of depleting turn meter on the enemies. So that means that when you're attacking champions that have reaction in arena, for example, okay, you're kind of gonna screw yourself over because you're gonna hit into the reaction. But we have Yumeko now. I'm not gonna have to worry about that. I'm gonna make a buff stripper to go in front of her like a Raman 2. Make it like a Kaimar, okay? Strip the buffs, increase the enemy's cooldowns, decrease my allies' cooldowns. So I'm gonna be able to use some of the skills that I used again to strip the buffs on the next round with the same champion because of this skill. And yeah, probably you guys are, well, that's it. Warlord is better because he depletes turn meter, he heals, he gives you shield, he gives you immunity. All my respect for Warlord, he's still one of my favorite champions in the entire game. But when we're going at the passive, Deep Cover places a Perfect Veil buff on this champion for 2 turns at the start of each round. So it's no cooldown on the passive. 1 round means 1 arena fight, or whenever the waves are changing, you know, that's when she's gonna place the Perfect Veil. This champion is immune to all debuffs if they are under a Veil or Perfect Veil. That's crazy. Like, I'm gonna take her in against Hegemons, I'm gonna take her in against Tormins, I'm gonna take her in against whatever teams I want without needing immunity. So this means that she's gonna be so powerful compared to Warlord, especially for offense and definitely for defense as well, don't get me wrong. But for offense, man, she's gonna be such a game changer in arena. Like, it's just next level. I'm super hyped that they actually released a game-changing champion. I'm just praying I'm gonna get her one day, and I'm praying that all of you guys are gonna get her one day, but hopefully we will. Whenever a Veil or Perfect Veil buff is placed on an enemy, has a 75% chance of stealing the buff. This happens before the buff is placed on the initial target. Only available when Karato Fox Hunter is on the same team. So if they're paired together, they are a very, very powerful combo for arena, guys. Definitely not something to mess around with. Her aura increases ally accuracy in all battles by 60. Man, I cannot wait to pull this champion. Hopefully, I will pull her at some point, as soon as possible. You know what I mean? That seems like they're gonna activate the inner Kraken in me. That's her. That's the only Void Legendary. Super happy with this one. This is definitely like, wow. The next champion that we have is Boragarde the Elder. Dwarf, HP, Force Affinity. Now, he has very good base stats, okay? Speed, not as good, but the HP is pretty good. Now, if we're having a look at the skills, on the A1, attacks one enemy, fully booked, 65% chance to place an increased defense for one turn on the ally with the lowest HP. Will not be placed on this champion and has a 100% chance instead if this attack is critical. On the A2, removes one random debuff from all allies, then places a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns equal to 20% of this champion's max HP. That sounds pretty decent. And this is the first champion that has increased resistance buff in the entire game. Rune of Energy on a 4-turn cooldown places a 50% increased resistance buff and a 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns. So here it is, guys. The new resistance meta coming in slowly in the game. I feel like from here on, definitely the resistance will kind of be like the dominant thing, slowly and surely. We're definitely gonna see a lot of changes in the meta in the next couple of months for Arena. His passive, allies receive 10% less damage from champions whose resistance is lower than or equal to theirs. So another passive that our fusion champion will ignore when we're talking about damage. He's just gonna ignore all these passives, you know. And the aura increases ally resistance in all battles by 50. Definitely super hyped for this champion as well. It looks like a very solid champion. Definitely not just some average rubbish out there, you know. And we have one more legendary champion, guys. And that one is no one else but this bad boy. Let me just find him. Archbishop Pintroy. Okay, so he looks interesting. I kind of hate that face. I don't know. I just don't like the face, but definitely a nice design. He's a support legendary spirit affinity from the Sacred Order. Pretty good base stats as well. When we're having a look at the kit, attacks one enemy, transfers one random debuff from this champion to the target. Also has a 75% chance of stealing a random buff. Holy Word places an increased accuracy buff on all allies, then attacks all enemies. Places a 100% heal reduction debuff on all enemies for 2 turns, and has a 100% chance fully booked of placing a block buffs debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. Champions from the Demon Spawns and Dead Night Revenants factions cannot resist these debuffs. Seems like it's a massive war in between these Sacred Order guys and all the rest of the factions because they always hate them. Whenever we have new champions from this faction, they hate on the other factions. But this is not a bad skill. 100% block buffs. The only thing is that this attacks the enemies. So we will be getting weak hits with him, you know. On the A3 right here, heals all allies by 30% of their max HP. It's not as good as his own max HP, unfortunately. But it depends on how much HP you have on your team. They're going to get back to 30% from what they had, so it's decent. Then places an increased defense buff on all allies for 2 turns. If 4 or more allies are alive, places a shield buff on each ally for 2 turns equal to 30% of their max HP. So basically, you're getting a 60% sort of heal protection. You're getting half shield, half heal. So it's a pretty good skill on a 4-turn cooldown. And the passive removes all defense down and weaken debuffs from this champion at the start of each turn. Again, pretty good passive. I wish it would have been on the entire team. That would have been a huge game changer, honestly. It would have been amazing. Maybe one day we're going to get something similar. And increases ally accuracy in all battles by 50. Now, that was kind of all in terms of legendary champions, guys. But we have the epics, okay? This is probably the best epic out of all of them. It's a defense-based epic. Pretty good base stats. Now, in terms of stats, we have a crit damage, decreased crit damage debuff. We have a stun that can go for 2 turns on a single target. Right here, attacks all enemies, decreases the duration of enemy buffs, increases the duration of increased defense buffs on all allies. And the passive is what makes this champion nice. At the start of each turn, places an ally protection buff on the ally with the lowest HP will not be placed on this champion. Also places a strengthen buff and a 60% increased defense buff on this champion for 2 turns. That's pretty sweet actually. Every time this champion takes a turn, it's gonna place an ally protection on the allies with a low HP. So that's pretty good. I like the idea of this. Then we have 3 more epics. That's why I'm kind of like, is it just 1 epic for the entire fusion, or we're gonna have 1 of each? Because we actually have 4 epics in here, you know. We have Teresk. She is actually pretty sweet, and I'm gonna show you what makes her unique so far. On the A1 is a double hitter, a chance to increase the duration of a random debuff. On the A2 attacks 1 enemy 3 times, a chance to remove a random buff. That makes her pretty good for the Fire Knight. On the A3 attacks all enemies, 75% chance fully booked to land a decreased resistance debuff for 2 turns. Now this is not enough to justify me to run her on my arena team, but it's definitely something that potentially could be used for PvE. Ruthless inflicts 10% more damage against targets whose resistance is lower than this champion's accuracy. That's a pretty nice passive as well. And the aura increases ally crit rate in all battles by 12. We have the Sir Artimate, sorry. I like this champion because of the first skill. Attacks 1 enemy 2 times. The first hit has a 40% chance to land defense down. The second, 40% chance to land decreased speed. Fully booked is a 50% chance. Very good for the Fire Knight dungeon. Just good generally for bosses that need to be controlled and they need a defense down. Removes all debuffs from this champion, then attacks all enemies. And attacks 1 enemy, will ignore 30% of the target's defense. Places increased attack and increased crit damage buff on this champion for 2 turns if it kills an enemy. These debuffs cannot be removed, and the aura increases ally speed in arena battles by 20%. This is actually a decent epic champion. Now, I'm not sure about multipliers on any of these guys. We gotta wait for the patch to drop in-game, so we're gonna be able to see that. And this is kind of like Filja, the last champion that we have. And she's been showcased to be part of the fusion. 4 copies of this one. I'm not so excited about her base stats. On the A1, decreases the target's max HP by 10 and cannot decrease the single enemy's max HP by more than 50%. Attacks 1 enemy, 75% chance, fully booked, 100% chance to fully deplete the turn meter. That is pretty good for the Spider, for example, to have some turn meter control, even for the Fire Knight if you need double hitter on the A1. And here, attacks all enemies, fills this champion's turn meter by 15 and heals them by 15 of the damage inflicted if this attack is critical. If this champion has 2 or fewer buffs at the start of the turn, places an increased attack and increased crit damage on this champion for 1 turn. That's actually a nice passive to have, but I'm not sure how hard she's gonna hit, how useful she's gonna be as a champion. I'm quickly gonna show you the art on the rare champions. Honestly, is nothing special about them. Decrease attack, but it's the low version, so definitely nothing too exciting. Is one rare champion that looked decent, and is this one. AoE, a chance to land block buff, 60% fully booked. So if you don't have any top champion for block buffs debuff, this rare champion might serve a purpose for you. A new barbarian here, and we have Medicus, a new high elf. But these are all the new champions, guys. Do let me know in the comments down below, what do you think of the champion? What do you think of the game-changing couple that we're gonna get in the game and the new features? Much love. I'll catch you all soon in the next video, and stay tuned because we will be dropping a video on the fusion today, guys. Peace.